So this fanfiction idea basically was the winner of a three-way crossover poll that I did over on Patreon, and as always, if you'd like to be part of those Patreon polls, as well as check out episode reviews of both Star Wars The Acolyte, and I'm now doing the episode reviews of Suicide Squad Isekai, as well as movie reviews. I just did, the recent movie I just did was Quiet Place Day 1, and if you guys would like to be part of those polls, as well as check out the movie and TV show reviews, just hit the link below, head on to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so. But anyway, yeah, so this one, I was actually shocked that this was the one that was the winner by a good margin. Like, it absolutely dominated the others. And I was actually, like, legit shocked that that was the winner for this poll. And that is a three-way crossover that won 69% of the vote. Nice. And that is, of course, as you can see, Frankenstein, Black Butler, and Gotham by Gaslight. So we got basically we got comics, novel, and anime all encountering one another in a cool Victorian-style kind of story. So the story begins with, basically it is set in Victorian London, and CL has been summoned by the Queen to undertake a new mission. Essentially what has happened is that Scotland Yard has been finding body parts of various victims, both men and women, regardless of gender or like status, rich, poor, whatever, have been found mutilated with body parts missing and organs missing. And there's no correlation. So CL has been summoned to find the killer. And at first they think it's it's Jack the Ripper. They think it's like Jack the Ripper, and they're like, and CL's like, I can assure you it is not Jack the Ripper. They thought Jack the Ripper came back, but basically like fucking, he's just like, CL's like, I can assure you he's not, he's not coming back. Totally. Anyway, so CL and Sebastian are on the case, and so far there have been 7 victims. And they look at the 7th and most recent victim, and they do see that it was basically a tax collector, and he was kind of older. I wouldn't say like elderly, but he was like in his early 40s. And essentially they're looking over the body, and they do see it, like they're inspecting it, and Sebastian points out that like he's missing both his lungs. Like someone surgically, with the precision of we're looking for someone with the precision of a surgeon, because his lungs were removed perfectly. Like there was, like, you would have to be a goddamn miracle worker with a knife to surgically remove open the rib cage, and then push past the other organs and remove the lungs and keep them and would imagine that it would probably be so well preserved. Meanwhile, while this is going on, there's reports of a shadowy, almost bat-like figure being seen in the dead of night, and people are thinking that it's Spring-Heeled Jack, which is different from Jack the Ripper. I know some people thought that was one and the same. They're not. But basically, they're they think it's Spring-Heeled Jack, haunting London again. And CL is like, kind of interesting that, this shadowy Spring-Heeled Jack figure is showing up right when these murders are starting to really fire up. So perhaps, it's another demon, or it's some kind of demon or something, or another, Reaper. So they more or less are trying to figure out, like, this person wants viable organs and body parts, whoever this is. And they all, like, CL is like, this all sounds really familiar. Like, I can't put my finger on why this all sounds like an organ thief. Someone who, like, stealing very specific body parts from usually healthy people. It's kind of like, it all sounds so familiar to me. But one night, they basically do come upon, there's the It's another night, and this time around they're out scoping the night looking for someone, and they do hear the screams of a woman being attacked, and they come upon a dead woman with Batman standing there. Like I said, this is Gotham by Gaslight Batman. So Sebastian and Batman fight, and Batman does try to hold his own, but it's Sebastian. He's a demon. He has enhanced abilities. So this version of Batman isn't used to fighting someone, let alone like that, let alone a demon. So Batman's freaked out, surprised by this, that he's getting his ass handed to him by a butler, throws a smoke bomb down and escapes. The next day, they do bring the following night, because they are well, whoever did this, Batman probably did it. Whoever this is, this weirdo we encountered, we stopped him from taking the body. However, CL says, if that's who I think it is, that's not Spring Hill Jack. That's the Batman of Gotham. He's supposed to be some kind of hero, some kind of mass vigilante who stopped another person who was basically another Jack the Ripper. We're trying to connect. I'm trying to connect that the Jack the Ripper in that continuity was based off the other one. They were both trying to emulate being they were both being Jack the Ripper, his aunt and Grell, as well as Bruce's godfather. We're going by the original comic, not the movie. They both were simultaneously Jack the Ripper, and both kind of didn't they both worked and both caused the death of 5 different victims, but they both kind of were trying to claim ownership of the lives. So it's hard. So they were both all 3 people were Jack the Ripper combined, but they can't remember which one killed who. So it's we're both Jack the Ripper. All 3 of us were Jack the Ripper, but they all CL also points out that when he and Sebastian are overlooking the body, they're well, whoever this is, and Sebastian's you really don't think it was that Batman character? He's whoever dresses up like a bat is clearly mentally ill, but I doubt he would do something. All evidence suggests that he would not be capable of killing someone just on a dime. All of his all of his clear psychosis is that he wants to protect people. My guess is that he stopped whoever he couldn't get here soon enough, but he did stop our real perpetrator from taking the body parts they needed. So essentially, they're the next day, they're at a gala for the Queen, who is trying to assuade, she's throwing this party to assuade any kind of worries the public may, the higher ups, the echelons of London may have over these this organ thief. And among them is a man from Gotham who has arrived to show his love to the Queen, and that is Bruce Wayne. And he meets CL Phantom Hive. He has Alfred with him, and Sebastian asks and what do you do, Mr. Pennyworth, sir? And I'm simply one hell of a butler. And Sebastian's just so that's what that feels like. So CL and Bruce Wayne are talking, and they're they both kind of connect over some things, I lost my parents, you lost yours, and they're kind of talking to one another. They're trying to out rich person one another, but Bruce can tell I'm looking at a young reflection of myself. I'm looking at the mirror of what I was when I lost my lost my family, and I can still see that rage in him. So he has that. So they have that kind of conversation. But then CL goes, "You probably took your grief a little differently, didn't you, Batman?" And he's "What? For what? I'm not Batman." He's "Oh, please. The Batman in Gotham shows up in London and then you appear the next day? How odd." And he's "Listen here, you little shit." And he's "You tell my butler and I will meet you outside and you will come to the Phantom Hive Manor for the Phantom Hive estate for, shall we say, tea and a conversation." So CL and Sebastian leave, and Alfred's "So what are we going to do, sir?" And he's "I don't know if I'm going to be friends with that kid or kill him." We'll see how the night goes. So this time Bruce arrives. This now because he's "Yeah, well, he found out." So he arrives as Batman, just coming through the window trying to, be intimidating and whatnot. And CL's just like, you arrived and you showed up in full regalia. How lovely. So I take it that you are aware of, what brings you to London? Obviously this organ thief. And Bruce basically explains, yeah, there were about five, no, like, at least a good number, 5 victims in Gotham that had similar cases of organs missing, all apparently random. I managed to scare the person who was doing this so bad, I guess they fled to London to continue their work. And he's like, do you have any idea who it is? And they're like, we do have an idea of, like, what they're trying to do. If they're trying to harvest this many organs, it could be at first I thought it was like Bruce goes, at first I thought it was like blackmail or something, but now I'm starting to think it's something else. Tell me, CL, have you ever heard of the story of Victor Frankenstein? And he goes, yeah, I've heard of it. He died. All reports said he and his monster died. And he's like, yeah, and their research was gone too. But here's the thing. I think someone's trying to recreate it. I think someone is trying to recreate the Frankenstein's experiment. So I know we have our differences, but perhaps it's best that you and your Butler assist me in catching this killer. I'm not doing this whole I work alone thing. It's clear that this is your home. You work for the crown and kingdom. So I'm not going to step on any toes. I don't want to fight your Butler again. So let's just work together and figure out what's going on. So that's what happens, is that Batman, they go back, they sneak back into the morgue where they're holding the latest body and kind of trying to figure out any details they may have missed. So as they're trying to figure out details, essentially a group of people burst in, and so leading to Batman and Sebastian and even CL trying to fight their way through. But as they discover that these people are mangled, twisted messes of human entities, and they're like, oh, they're not human, so we don't have to hold back. So they're just fucking killing them all, but they clearly show no pain and and anything else. And it's almost like they were, puppeteered by someone. Someone of great power and ability. So what happens is that they examine these bodies, and he's like, Bruce points out, I do remember there was someone in Gotham who also vanished around the same time I was starting to look into those murders. And it was someone who was mentally disturbed who was in Arkham Asylum, but they vanished around the same time. And they're like, who did it? Who is this person? And he goes, Laszlo Valentine. So yes, this is the Gotham by Gaslight version of Professor Pig. So they basically are trying to figure out the morgue. Batman believes that someone in the morgue is helping Valentine. So he does pull the Batman bit on one of the grave robbers, and even Sebastian's like, I'm impressed. So they discover that it is Laszlo Valentine who's building what he calls the Dolatrons, and he's been inspired by Victor Frankenstein's work and to recreate his work by harvesting the best organs and becoming the modern Prometheus. So they're told of where Valentine is, and they do find him outside in an abandoned old mansion that has been reconverted into his laboratory. So they go there out into the wilds of Britain, where they discover that, yeah, it is Valentine. He was in this continuity, he was a butcher for a small town, a small business, a meat business, but he basically really liked not only cutting up the pigs, but also got discovered sewing them back up and making art out of them. But it became more and more deranged when he started to do that to people, leading him to be arrested and sent to Arkham Asylum. But he escaped and is now, like I said, following the footsteps of Frankenstein. This leads to them discovering Valentine has not only been taking organs and making monsters. He actually found the original Frankenstein monster himself, frozen and in hibernation. He has been building the Dollatrons out of dead bodies and reviving them after recovering, after finding the remnants of Victor Frankenstein's notes, and has been making the Dollatrons. But he's been saving the organs he's been harvesting and replacing the dead tissue from the Frankenstein monster. So he revives the Frankenstein the monster, and it immediately is like, I didn't ask for it. This isn't like Boris Karloff, Frankenstein monster. This is like from the book, and the monster's just like, damn you! I didn't want, I never asked to be made, and I wanted a death with my father. You humans and your madness, and he immediately just goes after everybody. Batman chases down Laszlo, and Sebastian fights the monster, and among them, the Dollatrons are going nuts. This leads to a fire breaking out, and Valentine tries to escape. Batman manages to save Ciel and Sebastian out of the fire, but as Valentine's trying to escape, the monster grabs him and goes, "We belong dead," and the whole thing comes down, killing them both. So the fire rages on, and Batman's like, "It's unfortunate I couldn't save Valentine," and Ciel's like, he was a monster. It's all, as far as I'm concerned, he can burn for all I care. And Batman's like, you need to show some humility. That's what makes us different from them. He's like, I've already lost my soul, Mr. Wayne. I don't need humility. So they depart, but at the end of it, the next day, as the police are rummaging through the wreckage, they do find Valentine's body, but they do see that a series of footprints out of the fire go into the woods. So the Frankenstein monster lives. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much Black Butler, Gotham by Gaslight, and Frankenstein. I want to thank everyone for voting on this one. This was a great one to do. Absolutely love doing this one. And yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below what you guys think of it. Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.